Adam Chance turns into Prince Charming. Now, I hear you saying, can that be true? Well, we're about to find out from the man they call the JR of Birmingham. It's Tony Adams.
Crossroads, how can I help you? Hello? Would you like to leave a message?
I was on reception at one point, and the phone was supposed to ring, and it was vital that the phone rang because it let us segue into the next scene and the actual plot of the story that was happening. And I started to play the scene, and the phone didn't ring, and the phone didn't ring, and I thought, I've got to do something about this. So I picked it up and I said, "Crossroads Motel, can I help you?" And it went ring, 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 ring. That's Crossroads for you.
This booking, Chalet 12.
Oh, that's all right. He always just turns up. Crossroads Motel, can I help you?
We always said that Nolly never dried because she talks so bloody slowly. She did. Has anyone seen where Sandy is? Good on you, girl.
You have. Right, thank you very much for letting me know.
When I came in as Mr. Perkins, yes, I remember two things that happened. One was people always looked after you in Crossroads. You weren't thrown out there and the people didn't talk to you and you can't sit there. That's Noele Gordon's chair, that's Jane Brosington's chair. It was nothing like that. It was a very friendly, and I remember when I went in as Mr. Perkins, Sue Nichols was particularly kind. Nolly was wonderful to me because she was the mother of the show, and she looked after newcomers. There was none of this us and them. You sat at a table. You were made to be part of the family. Really, very, very kind. And Nolly was instrumental in this, because she said, as Mr. Perkins, she said in makeup, she said, "He looks too young. Put a moustache on him." So they glued I was sort of a gingery black in those days, and they put this thing on, and it stayed. The hair's real there.
My daughter Jill, Adam Chance.
How'd you do?
Hello.
We were just talking about you. I was saying you might be interested in renting Jill's house while it's still in the district.
No, Adam was a tart. I loved him. Lovely playing somebody that's you get these. It's very difficult to play yourself. I think it's very difficult to play yourself. But to play somebody like Adam, who was, I always refer to him as an animated oil slick. And he would go around and he would charm. He's a great, great ladies' man. And he couldn't resist.
That, Mr. Chance, is by invitation only.
If only I'd known.
Well, you do now.
Now look, why don't we go back?
Time to go.
There's some better stuff in my room.
Away you go and enjoy it.
Oh, look.
Let go.
Come here.
Just let go of me. Telegraphing is easier and far less painful, so you just keep that in mind, won't you?
Careful, careful. Tara was just teaching us self-defense for pacifists.
It works, I tell you, it works.
Yes.
So you think we're both a bit incomplete?
We needn't be.
No, Adam, that's not what I want.
Don't be silly. Of course it's what you want.
It is. Get out!
Nicola.
Don't say anything, just go.
We shot us live in the old days, and you started with scene 1, act 1, and then you worked right the way through until the end of part 1. And if you stopped, we were on a weekly contract, and if you stopped too many times, you were fired. That was the threat that hung over us. And it was very frightening. It was frightening and a lot of pressure. So you just couldn't go wrong in a scene. Sometimes we get a new actor in and they time the scenes and all of a sudden, because of nerves, that awful thing, the minute clock, dong, 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 and your heartbeat's going ba-dum, 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 and you think, oh, quiet in the studio, please, 10 seconds. This is a very important scene. Can I have quiet, please? Is it an important scene? I'm in it. Oh my God, it's an important scene. I mean, absolutely terrifying. And sometimes we would get to the end of the second half of the show, and because people had been nervous, they had rushed, and they would come up, and there were 3 people generally that they used. One was Nolly, the other was Jane Rossington, and the other was me. And they'd say, I remember at one point they said to me, we're 4 minutes, we need 4 minutes. I said, right, 1 camera please, put camera on me, I'll be at my desk, I'll get up from the desk, go to the filing cabinet, open the filing cabinet, get something out, ring the phone. As soon as I get to then I'll come back, I'll answer the phone, I'll do some dialogue, and just do that when you want me to finish. Terribly exciting, terribly exciting. And we did that, 3 of us, we were always, and it used to come out on a Friday night and used to think, well, I have to wait 6 weeks to see that mistake, or I have to wait 6 weeks and I haven't made any mistakes in the last episode. Wonderful. And it was a lovely place to be, and all the crews, I sound like Mary Poppins, I don't mean to sound like Mary Poppins, all the crew they were on our side. We had the best crew because everybody had to do their best because we couldn't stop. And I mean, occasionally you would see a boom come into shot, but they left it in. I remember there was one day with Jane, and she was doing a scene with Ted, and obviously somebody said, boom in shot. The boom came out and hit what they called a coffin. We had these things called coffins, which were big lights like this. Made you look 408, but we used to see people in the street after and say, oh, you look much younger than you do on the telly. And this boom hit the coffin, and dust while they were doing the scene started. And then what we call the rubber Johnny, the rubber thing, like on this, dropped in between the 2 of them. And Jane just bent down, picked it up and put it in the handbag and went on with the scene. Good old Jane. If it hadn't have been for Ronnie Allen, I would never have been able to handle Crossroads. He taught me how to approach Crossroads, how to do it. And if I hadn't have listened to him, I would not have had a good run. But he said to me, you must, he said, when you finish on a Friday, he said, don't look at next week's scripts. Don't look at them Friday evening. Don't look at them Saturday. Don't look at them Sunday. Get up early on Monday, mark your script, but give that brain a rest. Because he said, if you keep going on and going on and going over it and going over it, then you'll get into trouble. You'll get into trouble.
All right. Brief me.
I told you on the phone, the strike is on. No way can we have our grand reopening date.
What caused it?
I gave Dobson a rocket. Well, do you think I provoked the strike?
I was in London with my wife. I don't know what happened. I'm trying to find out.
Yes, well, while you were in London with your wife, I told him we got another contractor and that he had violated his contract.
So he would be pleased that they struck. A union line would effectively stake a claim on the job for him because no other contractor would dare cross that picket line.
Well, do you think I fell into a trap? Because if you hadn't have swanned off into London
that
in the middle of a
arrangement was made months ago.
Well, then you should have unmade
Because
it.
directors, a lot of them didn't have chance to direct. They were under the same pressure that we were under. So I remember Sue Hansen used to watch all my scenes and come up and say, that penultimate scene that you do there, play against it, Tone, play against it. You're going with it. It'd be much more interesting. And Ronnie used to watch me, and I used to watch Ronnie and say, you know, when you come in there and you do that, it it doesn't look right. Can you cheat?
You seem to me to be a very capable man. Yet you're the only member of the previous management who was not a director of the company. Why not?
It's a long story.
I've got time, provided it's not too long.
I came here, about 6 years ago now.
As what?
Oh, very much ad hoc. Mrs. Mortimer then owned the motel, and she asked me if I would sort out some problems with her late husband's will. I liked the motel, and the motel seemed to like me, so I severed my connections with my previous job.
Which is where?
Oh, in Australia. You wouldn't know the firm. I continued to work at the motel, and I met Jill. She's Mrs. Mortimer's daughter. I don't know if you know that.
Yes, yes, I do.
And then, unfortunately, I blew it.
We all cared about, we were all in the rotten little boat, rowing like hell for the shore.
Anyway, I left, supposedly never to return, and a year later I changed my mind and came back, very much the worse for wear.
Nolly knew what, when. She was, oh, wonderful she was. Nolly never had a script. Never, ever had a script on the set. We did. We were there looking, coming, and we would shove it under. And they asked Nolly to do a spread, the thing I was talking about earlier, Glenn, to do a spread because they needed something like 3 minutes. Somebody had got excited or something like that. And they were 3 minutes under. So, Nolly, can you do something? Yes, dear, she said. I'll get a camera into Meg's. This is all whispered because we're still filming the other end of the studio. And I remember Nolly came in and she opened the door and she said, now, I've lost my glasses. Now, where can my glasses be?
Now you have me.
And, I think I was sitting on the sofa, wasn't I? That's when I last had them. And she lifted up the cushion, and there was pink, blue, cream, a whole pile of scripts shoved under there. Glenn, I thought I was going out to lunch with her. She said, what was I doing in the lunch hour? And I thought, oh, lunch with Noele Gordon. Then she said, it was a number 50 or whatever it was. And I said, pardon. And she said, it's a number 50, dear. We catch it at the bus stop across the road, said Nolly. And we didn't have lunch. We went to Rackham's, as it was, and we did a little bit of shopping and came back. And that grew into an incredible friendship,
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Meg, it is your rule, no confirmation, no booking.
Thank you, Adam. I'll see to it right away.
My key, please.
Yes. 6, isn't it? That was a quick dinner.
It finished a little sooner than expected.
Wouldn't have done if I'd have been there.
And she rang me and she said, I want you to come over as soon as you can. And I said, yes, Nolly, what's the problem? And she said, I have been sacked. And I thought, oh, come on, Nolly. You are ATV, you are Crossroads. She was staff. We were all on contracts. But she was a staff employee of the company. And she started off with grade. And, you know, I thought, oh, theatricality, I mean, typical, it's a drama. And eventually I just said, look, let me have a shower. I'll have a quick shower. I won't bother shaving. I'll come straight over. And I went over, and Noele Gordon, star, and she was a star, no question about that. But she did have a strange night attire. Not that I ever went to bed with her. But she was waiting for me in her flannelette nightie and her furry little slippers and a sort of quilted goonie that she had. I mean, nothing glamorous, like you'd think Joan Collins. You would have thought that Nolly would. She was a very basic, ordinary person. We started talking. She said, Jack, that is Jack Barton, Glenn, is going to phone me up at 9 o'clock, and I want you to be here to listen what he has to say to me on the phone. And indeed, he did phone up at 9 o'clock, and I listened in, and they were going to sack her. And she said, what am I going to do? And I said, you're not going to do anything. you mustn't do anything. And she said, what do you mean? I said, we go into rehearsals and just go on and rehearse. Don't say anything to anybody. And there was a guy called Clifford Davis. I don't know if you remember him. He's Mr. Nasty on the television. Again, a very nice man. I always thought, great friend of Nolly's, great friend. And that evening we drove down and we went to see him, and he was very supportive and said, look, don't do anything, don't say anything, because he said, I want to actually sell this story and sell it well for you. And Michael did go to press, and I think it was only one paper, and I think it was the News of the World. Oh, the dear News of the World. And they said that she had been sacked.
An error of judgment on
A
my part.
misunderstanding, Diane.
Well, I don't think it's fair. I don't think I can cope anymore.
Alligator Creek, they issued the cameraman with bits of wood to put in their eyes so they didn't laugh. And it was my first episode in, well, the first of the block, because the first episode, I think, as I remember it, I went into a phone box and I phoned up the motel to say that I was there. I was in either Meg's sitting room or the office. I would think it was probably the office. And I was sat on a chair, a revolving chair, a bit like the chair you're sitting on, Glenn. And Nolly walked backwards and forwards behind me and was grilling me with these various questions. And at one point she said to me, Mr. Chance, you seem to have known my husband particularly well. And I said, well, Mrs. Mortimer, there is not a lot to do at night up Alligator Creek. And everybody just got hysterical. I mean, it was a terrible line. There's not a lot to do late at night up Alligator Creek. It was quite amazing. I remember Jack phoned me up and he said to me, this is Jack Barton, and he said to me, do you think Noele would come back into Crossroads? She had been sacked. And I said, why? And he said, I want to do a thing about you on your honeymoon in Venice. Venice, I thought, because normally on Crossroads we only went as far as the wire stretched in the old days. And so I said, Venice, Jack, Venice? And he said, yes, Venice. And he said, we're going there on the Orient Express and we will fly back. But I would like the surprise on the last night of your honeymoon out there, that you take your wife into the restaurant, to your favourite table, and there is somebody sitting at your table. Almost makes me cry when I go back over it. It really does. And she had her back, and Jane said to me, or Jill had to say to me, oh look, there's somebody sitting at our table. And I said, shall I go up and see if we can, or whatever it was. And I go up. And she turned round, and it was so moving, terribly moving, terribly moving. It was a wonderful experience to go somewhere as beautiful as Venice. I'd never been there, been to the Isle of Wight a lot, but not Venice. And Jack, we were sitting on the plane and we were business class, and I'd never been business. I'd been on a couple of planes, but I hadn't flown very much. And he said, now, as soon as we get there, we're going to start filming straight away. So I said, yes, Jack. And he said, you know, which scene we're doing first? We're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing that. And I said, yes. And he said, are you all right? And I said, I'm terribly excited. And he said, why? And I said, well, this is the third time I've flown in my life. And I said, I've not travelled very much. And the thought, Glenn, of being able to go out there and it's all paid for, and it was first class. Everything Jack did was absolutely first class. And I just said, you know, I'm very excited. He said, in that case, you've got to have a glass of champagne, but only one. Only one glass. And I had a glass of champagne in business, and we landed. Nolly had gone out on a different plane. We'd all been split, so that there was no, because it was still hot news. And then we joined Nolly there, and Nolly, I don't want to be disloyal to her, but Nolly was not herself. She came back and she was quite demanding, and she upset quite a few people. As always, she was absolutely DLP, Glenn, dead letter perfect, absolutely perfect, and did everything. And there was a scene where she walked round the gardens with Jane Rossington and talking about her life and what had happened. And at one point, and you can see this if you ever see it back again, she tripped. And I think Jack was so cross with her that he left it in.
Crossroads Hotel, can I help you?
Oh, right.
Hello, Jill. Jill? Jill, are you all right?
Well, it's coming off these pills, you see. I feel all dizzy and I've got cramps and my heart feels funny.
And Jill had a great problem because she started taking drugs to try and get herself out of things. And she was coming over as neurotic. And we often did storylines that people could relate to. So that we were passing on information on how she got out of it and how she did this and how she did that. But yes, she did have a great problem with drugs. And then with Adam, she had a nervous breakdown, and he tried to sort her out.
I'm awfully sorry about what happened.
Let's cut the bull, shall we?
Really?
Look, we both know that you used me to get at J. Henry, along with other people.
Did I? Well, it was worth it, wasn't it?
Do you really think so?
I will never understand why Crossroads was so maligned, because in the early days when we had it, all right, there wasn't much competition, but generally in the top 10, there was always Coronation Street and there was always Crossroads, and we vied with each other.
Where are you going?
Australia.
Oh, no. I thought traditionally it was big game hunting in Africa.
Oh, that's typically you, isn't it? Smart remarks and empty.
Oh, darling, you're going to make me cry.
Do you know, for the past couple of days, I've gone in for some self-examination, and I came across some dark corners that I didn't care to look into too deeply. But compared with you...
Oh, don't, darling. Comparisons are odious.
The big guns that came in and started to run the company, the one thing they wanted to do was to destroy Crossroads. Granada never did that. Granada nurtured Coronation Street.
You're not a real person. And you don't have any real friends. They're only after you for what they can get. The only real companion you have, my love, is your mirror. And pretty soon you're not going to like what that has to tell you.
Oh, do go on.
So what you going to do, Valerie? What your empty friends going to do when the wrinkles can't be ironed out and the body propped up?
You're a cruel swine, aren't you?
Yes, but I'm not as cruel as you were to me and Jill and others before me. I'll tell you something. For the first time, I feel sorry for J. Henry. But not as sorry as I feel for you. You are pathetic.
Thank you.
And furthermore, you're a very ordinary person. And eminently forgettable.
Coronation Street, it's wonderful. I mean, it's good drama, and it's got the figures, and they've looked after the show. And I think had they actually looked after Crossroads, people like Denton and Margaret, I think probably it would still be there.
The car. It's unpacked. Telephone. Can't be for me. Nobody knows I'm here.
Count on it. Well, all grapevine. Hello?
we had a lot of fun on Crossroads, and we were paid for it. And it was good times. It was the wartime of television, but my God, it was good.
Still, it's life, isn't it? What would I like?
What?
For someone to do this any time I fancied. And to go on doing it until I say stop.
And I happen to think you're onto a winner.
Oh, very good, Adam. Very good indeed.
Good night.